All right. We are recording, so we are good. I have to close my participant list in order to be able to see my whole screen. So again, let's keep those microphones muted if possible. So Google Drive. Google Drive, I'm sure there's many of you in this session that use Google Drive currently. Many of you that may have just started to use Google Drive at this time with this whole remote instruction that we find ourselves in. But Google Drive, you want to think about it as basically an online hard drive where you're going to be able to store all your files, anything that you have, designs, drawing, recordings, videos, anything you want, documents, spreadsheets, slideshows, slide decks. And as part of G Suite for education, if your school is a G Suite district, and we are at a point where most of our districts in the Carbon-Lehigh footprint are G Suite schools. Drive has unlimited storage. You and your students don't have to worry about, things getting full or files being too big or getting rid of files, losing anything, that kind of stuff. You can access those files in your Google Drive from anywhere. Any device, you can access them from your phone, from your iPad, from your tablet, from a laptop, a desktop, anything, remotely, anywhere you are. And the great thing about Google Drive is you don't have to save anything. The saving is done automatically for you every time you are working in Drive or making any edits or creating anything. So that's one of the best things about Google Drive. So I only do have a couple of slides here, and I want to just get through those couple of slides, and then I will be diving right into Drive itself. I hear somebody has their mic open. If you can check and make sure yours is turned off. So in Google Drive, you'll have your own personal folders stored in the cloud. So we're storing them in Google's cloud. So just like you would have your folders, say, on your computer, on your laptop, maybe on your desktop or on your network drive at school, and you have folders that you keep things in. Same thing in Google Drive. We'll be able to create folders and store things there, and everything will be in the cloud. You're going to be able to use Drive to create and organize and save all of your files and folders in Drive. So you'll be able to have files inside of folders and folders inside of folders. You'll be able to share all of those things with other people. So that's one of the great things about Drive. If we are used to, let's just use Microsoft Word as an example. Before we had these cloud-based solutions, if we had a Microsoft Word document that we created and I wanted to share it with a colleague for them to look at it and add some information to it, I would have to attach it to an email, send it to them. They'd have to open it up from the email, save it, make their changes, save it, attach it to an email, and send it back to me. We don't have to do that anymore with Drive being cloud-based. So we can just share our files and documents with each other and make those changes in real time. And it's syncing and storing those files so that we can access them anyway. These are some of the things that we will cover. We do only have an hour, and this is kind of just this intro to all things Google Drive. So we're going to cover My Drive, shared drives, shared with me, recent, folder, sharing, and new. So there are some of the things that we're going to cover today. So I'm going to jump out of this slide deck and go right to my Google Drive so that we can start there. When you log into your Google Drive, you are going, yours will probably look very different than mine as far as, very different from mine as far as Let's see, we got some people unmuted here. Let's get you all muted up. Okay. I mean, my Google Drive is very populated. I've got lots and lots of stuff in here. Pretty much my whole work life for the last 20 years is in here. But I'm going to start over here on the left-hand side. Now, you please feel free if you want to have your Google Drive open and be toggling back and forth. That's great. You can follow along, or if you just want to be following along in this where I'm at and then go back to yours a little bit later. But I'm going to start over here. I'm logged into my Google Drive. Over here in the upper right, it shows my account. So I am logged in with my CLIU account, and I've got some things across the top. Starting from the left, I've got Drive, right? I can click on that and it will take me back to the home of Google Drive at all times. I've got this search in Drive bar. The search is great because a lot of times, you know, at least me, just because I have so many things in my Drive, when I am searching for something and I don't remember where I put it for whatever reason, I can just search this by keywords and it will bring up everything that has those words in it, and I can hopefully find my file. There's also a drop down in the search area, so there's different options. I can search by type. Is it just a slide, a presentation, or a spreadsheet, or anything? I can search by the owner. So if I know that my colleague shared something with me and I can't find it, that person is the owner of the document. So I can put that person's name in there. Anywhere, location, when it was modified. So it has all these different advanced search criteria. As I scroll over in the top of my Drive, there's always a support button and there's a settings button. In the settings, you know, there's just a few things in there. We're not going to really go in there because there's really not a whole lot you should have to change in there. And then there's what we call this little, our little grid here. And if we click on that grid, it's going to show us all of the Google apps that we have access to in our Google for Education G Suite account at school. Okay, so that's what that is. So I can go to Docs or Sheets or Classroom very quickly right from here, just by clicking on this gallery grid. So I'm going to go back over here to the right or the left-hand side of my screen, and I see Marie has a question. You have hundreds of lessons written in Microsoft Word. Can you export them from OneDrive to Google Drive, and will they be compatible? You can bring Microsoft Word documents into Google Drive, yes. And I'll show you how to do that in a little bit, okay? All right, so we're gonna start with my Drive. Yours may look a little bit different on the left-hand side because I have something underneath my Drive right here called Share Drives. I'm not gonna get to that just yet. I'm gonna start with my Drive, okay? So in my Drive, this is just what it says, your Drive. Anything that you create, folders, documents, presentations, spreadsheets, you import PDF files, Word documents, any of those kinds of things are going to be in my Drive. Okay? Okay, so for some reason, let's see, folks, when you are adding something to the chat, it looks like you're messaging it to me privately, and I do have a friend jumped into this session and is kind of looking at the chat, watching the chat to alert me to questions. So if you could make sure that if you're asking a question, you send it to everyone so that she sees them. She's not seeing them privately, so I'm not always knowing that there's a question in the chat because my chat isn't open or I wouldn't be able to navigate around my screen. So I do have a question from someone saying, I'm signed into my IU account and I'm not showing access to any of this. Would I have to be doing this through my personal account? Are you on drive.google.com, Joey? You can open your mic if you need to.
I am not. I'm just signed into my IU email address.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that. You have to sign in to go to Google Drive. You need to be at drive.google.com and then sign in with your IU account. So if you go up here, you see my URL, drive.google.com. Thank you for whomever, somebody just put that in the chat. Okay?
And then I just sign into Google like I'm using my IU account?
Yes.
Okay.
It should be your IU email address with your IU password. And if that doesn't work, you would have to put a ticket into the help desk.
Yeah, it's telling me it cannot find my account.
Yeah, so you might want to, if you want to go follow along, log into your personal, but you'll have to send a ticket to the help desk at the IU for them to make sure that they're connected. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, so my drive, I'm going back to this. My drive is just what it is my drive. So anything you're creating is going into my drive. As you can see in my drive, I've got all of these folders and I've got a whole bunch of documents and files that are just kind of hanging out there that I don't have organized into folders. I can view my drive in three different ways really. So if you look right under here, if you see where my mouse is, underneath that grid, there is a list view, or I can toggle in and out. So if I look at this in list view, this is how I see my drive now. So it will show me in this view who the owner of a folder is. So in this case, you'll see eLearn21. Eric Leck is the owner of this folder, but he has shared this folder with me, so I have complete and full access to it. But he's the owner. And you'll see all of these, who the owners of these are, if I'm looking at it in list view. I go back up here and click on it and it takes me to grid view. This is a personal preference. I prefer it in grid view, so I keep mine in grid view. I can also go over here to my left-hand side and I've got an arrow next to my drive. When I click on the arrow, I can see a list of all of the folders that are in my drive. So I can see them here or I can see them here. Now, the next thing that you see on my screen that you may or may not see on your screen is called shared drives. And I want to bring this up because this is a very important delineation. So when Google first started what we now call shared drives, they used to be called team drives. And that's extremely important. You need to know that we use the word sharing in Google all the time. So we share our folders in Drive, we share our documents, we share our presentations, we share our slide shows, our spreadsheets with other people. So sharing is a big word in Google Drive. This right here used to be called team drives. When they changed the name to shared drives, it confused a lot of people because it is not the same sharing that we are using in Google Drive to share our documents and files with each other. Let me say that again. It is not the same sharing that we use to share documents and folders with other people. I'm going to call this Team Drives right now for the sake of explaining what it is. If you are in an organization, i.e. a school district or the intermediate unit, there is the ability for the organization to have team drives. In my case, when I click on this, you'll see I've got these team drives. Again, now Google has changed the name of them to shared drives. So this is my curriculum and instruction team drive. You can see 7 people have access to this drive. What this means is it's its own drive. This is not a folder, okay? It is a drive. So that's where the word shared, we get confused with folders and documents. This is a shared drive. So if I open CNI Team Drive, now you're going to see a whole other host of folders that are inside this drive that the 7 people that are part of this drive have access to and can create in the drive. I'm going to go back to my shared drives. I have another one here. This one has 28 people in it. This is PA Smart Lending Library. When I open this, I've got all of these files in here that only the 28 people that are part of this PA Smart Lending Library drive can access. So these shared drives, formerly team drives, are organizational drives as opposed to folders that everybody is in. Now, when we are in our own drive, I have a folder in my drive. I am the owner of that folder, okay? When you are in a team drive, or what they're calling shared drives, you don't own anything in the drive. So in this case, the CNI drive, 7 people are part of this, 7 members can access. The 7 people that are in there have shared ownership of everything that's in there. So that is kind of the difference between if you're seeing shared drive on your, when you land on your Google Drive, okay? So I hope that if that really confused anybody, just drop it in the chat. All right, I see nothing there. I did get something, who can make a shared drive? If your organization should have shared drives showing, but anybody can make a shared drive. So I can make a shared drive and invite certain people to that drive. That's going to depend. See, I have full access. It's going to depend on your back end, like if your organization has given you access to create shared drives or not. So that's going to be totally a district thing. So if you take a look at what I'm doing on my screen right now, you see I have highlighted shared drives. If I go to the new button and click on it, it says new shared drive. And then I can create it because I have access to do that. You may or may not have access to do that. That's going to depend on the back end of your Google administration and how they have it set up for you. Okay? All right. I'm going to move off of shared drives because I want to get into my drive and some of the things that we can do here. So when you're in my drive, I'm going to start by going to the new button. When you're in my drive, you can do new, file upload. So the person that asked me about Microsoft Word documents, This is where you would do it. You would go to File Upload, and it's going to open up your computer for all of the files and things that are available on your computer, and you can upload, let's say I want this file right here, this Word document uploaded. I just open it. You'll see it down here, uploading, starting the upload. Then it's going to give me a little green check mark once it is uploaded, and it is now in my, it'll be now in my drive. You see that here? It's in my drive. I can click on that. It's running a little slow today. And it automatically now converts it to a Google Doc. You will, there's a very good possibility if you're uploading Word documents or PowerPoint slides that you're going to lose some formatting when it opens in Drive. But it automatically now has taken that Word document and converted it to a Google Doc. And you can see I lost formatting here because this was a certificate and this right here was the background of the certificate. So you may have to do some redesign of things. I'm going to go back here, close this, back to my drive. I apologize for the lag here. For some reason, this is running really slowly this morning. I'm going to go back up here to new. Maybe. There we go. Oops. Yeah, something is really going on. Okay, so I can create a new folder. I can do a file or a folder upload, docs, sheets, slides. If I hit the more, it's going to give me other options that I have available to me. You might not have the same exact options that I have, so don't stress over that or think something's wrong. It's just that I have a lot more applications installed than most people do. We're going to really stick to just folders and these files here. Anytime I want to create a new folder, that's exactly where I'll go. Create the new folder and title it and create it. And then it's just going to drop into my drive. If I want to go into any of these folders, so let's say I go into this folder that I have a folder for myself. If I'm looking at my folders, you're going to see things like, you see this one here has a little person. These have little people on them. If you see that. And then this one does not. This one does not. If it has a little person on it, it means that folder is a shared folder, not a shared drive, remember. It's a shared folder, meaning this folder has been shared with other people or it has been shared with me. This is my own personal folder and I don't share it with anybody. When I open that up, you're going to see that I have multiple folders inside of here. And I have some documents. If I want to create a new folder inside of this folder, I have to open this folder, go to my new button, and I can add a new folder to it, a new file upload, folder upload, document sheet, whatever it might be. And it will add it right inside of this folder. Okay? And that's true for any of the folders in your drive. If you are just right here at the main landing page of your drive and you do new, it's going to be right on the main landing page of your drive. But if you want it to be organized inside a folder, I would suggest opening the folder you want it to be in and then adding it. That's not to say you can't move it there later and reorganize, because you absolutely can. Are we okay right now on kind of what that looks like. Okay. I am going to kind of move down this list a little bit here and go to, and I'm going to really get into sharing settings here in a little bit, I promise. But I really want to go down the left-hand side here for you and point out a few of these things. Shared with me. This means it's not mine. I don't own it. I haven't created it. And it means that someone either in my organization or outside of my organization, because you can share things with people outside of your organization at any time and they can share with you. These are things that have been shared with me by other people. So if I click on shared with me, now you're going to see a whole other host of folders and files and such that have been shared with me. If I want to open something, let's say I want this one here. I open it up and I'm going to right up here. Do you see this up here? This shows me when I roll over that, how many people or who this is shared with. In this case, you'll see Eric is the owner and it's shared with 2 other people. Dragging documents, is that a question that's up here? Dragging documents. Yes, you can drag documents and put them in your folders. Absolutely you can. Absolutely you can. Did I just stop sharing my screen? And if I did, I apologize.
Yes.
I'm coming back. Sorry about that. I hit that instead of the chat. They're right next to each other. You can drag into folders. Absolutely you can. So one of the things about these shared with me is I can take, if I'm trying to find one that isn't in my, own drive. If I open something that isn't in my drive, I'm going to get a little button up here, and I don't have it right now because I can't find one that isn't in my drive. I can add it. When somebody shares a document with me, I get a little option that says add to my drive. So let me see if I can, if this might be one. This might be a file that's not in my drive. I just opened a file, not a folder. Nope, it's in my drive. I'll come across one and I'll be able to show you what that looks like. Anyway, I can do the same thing by looking at it with a right click. Here we go, here we go. Here's one here. You see this? When I right click on this, or even when I open this, I'm gonna get this little button right here that says add to my drive. Do you see that? That will add it to my drive. So then it falls into this list of the folders that are in my drive. So for me personally, I like to add things to my drive if it's something that I'm always going to be using. Instead of going to the shared with me to access it, I wanted to access it right from my drive. So anytime you're looking for something that somebody has, you think, oh, why can't I find this document? And then you're like, oh, so-and-so shared that with me. I bet you it's in my shared with me area. So you want to go there. Okay. And this is some of the recent is just going to show you things that you've recently used. Start is just going to be if you star anything, and then of course your trash. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on those, just know they're there. But I am going to go back to the My Drive. I'm going to create something in here for today. Just going to say a new folder. And I'm going to call this test for remote instruction. That's going to be the name of my folder. I'm going to create it. Here it is right here. I have mine organized alphabetically, so it popped in right here. Test for remote instruction. Right now you see it's blank because I haven't shared it with anyone. Wait, let me see, I got a question in here. Someone shares with you and you put it in my drive and make a change. Does the change happen? Yep. How do you delete a folder or file you don't want anymore? You just Diane, you could just right click on it and delete it. So if you put that file or folder in your drive, you are still getting all of the changes that have been made or you make because it's still a shared document or folder. The only way, and I'll come over to this in a little bit, that wouldn't happen is if you make a copy of it. When you make a copy of it, you are doing just that. You are making a copy of it as it stands at that moment. So if anybody is making changes to that original document, those changes are not going to be reflected in the copy of that document or that folder. Okay? All right, Stuart, you good? Diane, you're good? All right. So here's the folder I made. I am going to open this folder. Whoops. Sorry about that. So you'll see there's nothing in this folder right now. I got nothing in here. It's empty. And you'll see it says drop files here. I could drag and drop files into here if I wanted to, into that folder. I can use this new button and add files, folder, or files, more folders, presentations, whatever I want. This is not at this point shared with anybody. So if you see, if I click on it here, I get options up here. I can add a new folder from here. I can share it with somebody. I can get the shareable link. I could move it to, maybe I want to move this folder inside another folder, add it to start, rename, change the color, download it, or delete it. Now, I'm going to share this folder with somebody, okay? So I'm going to go to share. Now, remember, I'm sharing a folder. So then I want to explain to you some things about sharing a folder. I'm going to enter the name or the email address of the person or persons I want to share it with. If I only want to share it with a few people, this is what I would do. I would be entering their email addresses. I'm going to share this with someone in a different organization, just so you see what this is like. So I put the email address of the person I want to share it with, okay? Now, did I spell that wrong for Tally? Wait, I have a question? No.
Valley, spelled Valley wrong.
Oh, I did, sorry. Thanks. So over here, this is extremely important. This is going to give you or give the person the rights you want them to have. I might share this. This is Tracy for Tally that I'm sharing this with. I might share this folder with Tracy, but I only want her to view the folder. I want her to see the contents of the folder. I want her to have access to everything that's in it, but I don't want her to be able to edit it. I don't want her to add anything, organize anything, or edit anything in this folder. I would choose view only. See what it does? Or I want her to be able to put things in the folder. I want her to be able to edit what's in the folder and edit the folder itself. I choose editing. I could add a note that says, hey, Tracy, Please use this folder for all things Google Drive Docs. Right here is a notify people. It defaults to that. So it's going to send Tracy an email to this email address. She's going to get right here what I said to her. Hey, Tracy, use this folder for all things Google Docs. She'll receive an email. There's a lot more going on in this window that I'll come to in a little while, but for right now, I want to show you what happens when I go to share this with her. It says, you are sharing to someone who is not in the organization that the item belongs to. So this is saying to me, you work for Carbon Lehigh Intermediate Unit and you have a G Suite domain at Carbon Lehigh Intermediate Unit, but you're sharing this with somebody outside of your domain in a different organization. Are you okay with that? So I can say yes or I can say no. I'm going to say yes. It's sending her an email. She now has access to this folder. Tracy, I'm going to ask you to dump a file in this folder. You can just dump a random file you have or whatever. I just want to show that how that all happens very quickly.
Okay.
So that is sharing the folder with someone. I can share, maybe you have a 5th grade team of teachers and you want to share a folder for the 5th grade team, and you have inside of that folder, you have math, a math folder, a reading folder, a science folder, a social studies folder, a language arts folder, and you're all putting resources and documents into those folders, and everyone has that access to that and can do those things. Can you take back their rights from that folder? So the question is, can I take their rights back? And I'm going to show you. So I go back up here to where it's my sharing options. And you see here it says shared with Tracy. I can click on that. Now I can change her rights or I could remove her by just clicking on the X. I could prevent editors from changing access and adding new people. How does it, okay, I have a question. How does it work if you're sending a doc or a folder to a non-Google user? They're going to, they're going to need to have a Google account to be able to open it up. Whether it be a Gmail account or a district Google account. Okay. So I just, you didn't put anything in there yet, Trace? No? Okay.
Try, my computer's acting up.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll come back to that in a little bit. But I'm going to add a document now to this, and I'm just going to start a new Google Doc. And now look what it says when I create a document. This is going to be created in a shared folder. It will have the same sharing permissions as the folder. So what that means is, once I create and hit create and share, this document is now going to be shared with the same people that the folder it's in is shared with. But going back to the question someone had about not giving someone or taking away someone's rights. If I'm adding a document to this shared folder and I don't want everybody for some reason, or I only want certain people that are in that folder to have access, I can do the same. I can remove certain people if I would like. So, sharing document, I'm going to just You'll see up here, I've got some things going on. I have, I can move it right from here if I want to. I can star it. I can go over here to my share button and it's shared with one person. Again, I can click on that and say, you know what, I really don't want Tracy to have this document. Or I only want her to be able to view the document. Or I only want her to have access for a certain amount of time. I can add more people to the document. That does not mean they automatically have rights to the entire folder. They will have rights only to the document I'm adding them to. Sharing, if you are not familiar with it or you don't use it very much in Google Drive, can get very confusing. So, you know, just be aware of that. It can get very confusing because there's all kinds of ways that sharing can happen. And I feel like, do we have something in the chat here? Let me see. When you share a document in a shared, wait. So Brennan, you say if you share a document in a shared folder, what is the question there? I'm not really sure.
I hit the enter button. When you share a document in a shared folder, what privileges does that person have?
Every,
Edit it? Or
yep.
can they just do it?
Yeah, you can change it to whatever you want them to have. Just
Yeah,
like
but what I'm getting at is when you drop it in, what privileges do they
it
have?
has the same privileges as the privileges that you've given in the folder.
Or when you set it up, the
Yep.
privileges. So if you drop it in and you're giving everyone the right to edit it, then they have the same rights.
That's right, unless you change it individually on that document.
But once it's set up for the folder, then when you drop someone in, that's the privileges they have.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct. Yep. And then once you remove them, do they still have access to everything in that drive before you deleted them? The only way they would is if they made a copy of it. There's no stopping them from making a copy of everything. Okay. So I'm going to close this document and I'm going to go back. Oh, look there. So Tracy added a file. She added a Panther JPEG. Now she can also access this sharing document. If you want to open that for me, Tracy, and if you want to start typing something in that document, and this is the way then that collaborative document can work when multiple people have access to the document, they can then work collaboratively. So if Tracy jumps in this document, you're going to see her. See, can you see right up here? I see that she is now in the document. She has it open. Now I can go over here and I see she's typing. You see this? So, you know, we can work collaboratively in this document, which is really great, you know, especially in the situation we are finding ourselves in now. Even great for kids to be working collaboratively in documents, teachers to be working in documents collaboratively. I'm going to go to the chat for a minute. Can you change the sharing permissions? For example, if you shared someone and allowed them to edit, yes, you can later change them and allow them only to view it. Absolutely. You can change those permissions. If you're the owner of that document, you can change those permissions at any time for every single individual person that you have shared it with. Yes, they will be able to make a copy even if they don't have editing privileges. If you give them view only privileges, which I'll show you right now, I'm going to create a doc in the shared folder. And test doc 2, and I share it. If I only give them viewing rights, so I'm going to give Tracy viewing rights, she is still going to be able to make a copy of the document because she's going to have this right here in that document that says make a copy. Yes, Dorothy, I will be talking about that, shareable link. So at any time, anybody's going to be able to make a copy if they have the actual document, okay? Now, the other thing, when you make a copy, somebody asked, when you make a copy, where does it go? If I'm going to go to, I'll show you, I'll do an example for you. Something that isn't mine. Let's see. Something that is not mine. I'm trying to find something that's safe to open, meaning like it's not confidential, that I'm going to be opening here in front of people. So let's say I want this. No, that's a PDF, sorry. These are PDFs, bad choice. Okay, let's say I want this. I just opened this and now I can go File, make a copy. And here's what will happen. When I make a copy, I get some options here. Do I want to share it with the same people? Copy will be created in the shared folder. Do you see this? I can click on this and I can decide where in my drive I want to organize and put that copy. And if I choose I want to put it in here, then I would select this. Now, see this arrow? Once I chose this folder, I have another arrow. That means that there's subfolders in there, and I might want to put it in one of those subfolders. So I can organize that copy wherever I want. The other thing it does is it calls it a copy of that document. So I might want to change that completely. Change the name of it. I might want to take the word copy of it, you know, whatever I want to do. And then I say, okay. And that's, it'll be housed wherever, whatever is right here. Does that answer your question? I hope. Let me see. I see the chat's going here. I think we needed 2 hours for this, folks. When you make a copy, okay, if they have a copy, can they edit that copy? Once they make a copy of it, if you give them only viewing rights, meaning they cannot edit it, and they make their own copy, then they can do whatever they want to it. And it doesn't do anything to the original because they don't have access to edit the original. Can you share with your students to work in a certain folder and you can see what they have done? Yes, you can. You can. That's kind of a whole nother level of stuff, but you can certainly do that. I've had students cheat using share. Is there a way to dissuade them? Well, that's a tough one, Stuart. That's going to be, you know, yeah, no, I don't know how you would stop them from doing that if they're doing it outside. You know, they're sharing documents with each other. Other than maybe using Classroom to do it, it might work for you that way. Okay, so this question has been asked numerous times. Can you change the sharing permissions? If I shared with someone and asked them, allowed them editing rights, can I then change it later to allow them to view? Yes, at any time you can change your sharing permissions with someone. Edit, view, remove them completely. You can do any of that. When you make a copy of a document, can you put all copies in a default folder and then move the file at a later date to it? It's going to be, what's going to happen is when you go to make that copy, it is going to make that copy and want to put it in either the folder that you're making a copy from, or it's going to just dump it right onto in your drive in the main thing. You can't direct it to a default folder. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go back to that. Let's find it here. Here it is, test for remote instruction. And I'm going to go to this document and I'm going to go back to my sharing settings for a moment. So I'm opening the document. Right up here, I see the last edit was made by Tracy 7 minutes ago. But I'm going to go over here to my share button. I'm going to go to my share button, and there's a couple things here. Get shareable link. I use this a lot. When I say get shareable link, this is what comes up. Link sharing is off only for specific access. I always go to this drop down. In my case, typically it defaults to anyone in Carbon Lehigh Intermediate Unit inside my domain. I need to go to the More button and see all of my options. I can share it public on the web, anyone with the link. So, and I'm going to do this in a little bit because somebody asked for the slide deck, and I'm going to put the slide deck in the chat box in a few minutes here. But what I need to do with that slide deck is actually, you know what? We're going to do that. That's where I'm going to go, because that will be easier, because then you'll have it. So my slide deck right here. All right. I have those same sharing options as I have in a document. So I want to share it, but I want to share this slide deck with all of you. So in order to do that, there are 150 of you from all different school districts. So I need to get the shareable link. I don't want to put in names. You see mine defaults to anyone at Carbon Lehigh Intermediate Unit can view. I don't want that because you're not all in Carbon Lehigh Intermediate Unit organization. I need to go to More, and I'm going to say anyone with the link. No sign-in required. But take your eyes to the bottom of this box. You see this right here? Anyone, no sign-in required. So anybody who has the link at this, the way it defaults for me is can view. I can change that if I want. If I want this to be a file that everybody can edit or anybody can comment on it. I'm going to say view and save. And now I want to copy the link because I'm ready. Anyone with the link can view. I go over here. I'm going to go to my chat and I am going to put that link in the chat. And anybody that gets that link can get a copy of this slide deck in a viewable only format. You will not be able to edit it. If you use your school account, you can only share with people in the district. However, you can share from your personal drive to your district drive. That depends on your district, Michelle. That's not always the case. That depends on how the district has it set up. Okay. So that, you know what, I didn't get anywhere through what we needed to get through in this time, and we are at 11:28, and I need to respect everybody's time. So please, I don't have it scheduled. It's not on the schedule yet for next week, but I will be doing a I will be doing a Google Tools Q&A session. And that will be open for kind of like all Google tools. So you can, if you have Drive questions and all of that, it will probably be next Tuesday at 1 p.m. because that's when I had it this week. So I'm trying to do them on a weekly basis. At 1 o'clock today, I have a Google Classroom Q&A. And I apologize for not getting through everything that I wanted to. And I know there's so much more, but hopefully this gives you enough to maybe get yourselves started. And then I'll put another one. I'll put another one together for a little more, more steps in this. You now have the URL for the actual slide deck. So I'm going to, over the next week, I'll continue to add to that slide deck and make it a little bit more comprehensive as I start putting things together for like a second session, okay? Hopefully, okay, I see some people saying they learned a lot. Good, I'm glad. I know with this many people in a group, it's really difficult to try to meet everybody's needs, but hopefully you were able to get something out of this.